Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Jensen program. I'm Brett Jensen from scenic Central Florida, and joining me from the beautiful Pacific Northwest, we have Eric Jensen. And of course, we will be discussing all sorts of good things that, if you don't disagree with us, you're wrong. I'm sorry. All the important issues, beginning, of course, with USC Trojan football and the search for a new defensive coordinator. Alex Grinch being released from his responsibilities a short time previous. We're obviously in need of some help defensively. There are a lot of guys out there. Who are you looking at? Who do you think would be a good fit?
Well, the people that I'm looking at first, like sort of who I would want, is you want someone that's done it before for a while. Hopefully not one of these, even if it's an up-and-comer, I'd rather not get one of those, but get a solid established guy. Preferably also someone that can handle, I don't know, big guys. I think we need to get more size, someone that's looking to be a physical, even a counterbalance to Lincoln Riley's speed on offense and whatnot. So having said that, I'm thinking big and powerful. I think of Wisconsin, and the first guy I think of is the Jim Leonard guy, I think he's a defensive analyst right now for Illinois.
Right.
But he has been the defensive coordinator at Wisconsin, and when he was, Wisconsin is always good at defense, and that's always, you never know who you're getting, but that would be my top choice right there, is someone that has done it multiple years, uses big guys, and is very physical, which is what I think we need to bring back to USC.
100% agree. I like that call. And Big Ten experience is obviously going to be important. You see that other teams that have kind of gone from other places to the Big Ten have kind of struggled. Nebraska, that traditionally had the black shirt defense and really strong, they've waned, and then when they went to the Big Ten, you kind of thought, they'll get back into that sort of recruiting style. They have not been able to adapt in the same way. Being able to handle what's coming is, I think, going to be really important for the Trojans.
Yeah. There are other guys out there. The other big name that everyone is saying, which is not possible right now because he's still the head coach, is Dave Aranda over at Baylor. And that could only happen if he gets fired from Baylor. And he was the defensive assistant there at LSU when they won the championship. So he's had good championship pedigree there. I like it. I think Jim Leonard is a better fit, but I was all for Dave Aranda as head coach. I'm glad we did not go that route, now seeing how he's doing at Baylor.
Yeah, you kind of wonder, if there's just a certain type that is just better suited to coordinating one side rather than running the whole thing. And hopefully that's true for Dave Aranda. He seems like a nice guy. And,
mm-hmm. There's also the Mississippi State head coach, and I'm forgetting his name, that was just fired, which people are bringing up a lot because he was under Mike Leach, and Lincoln Riley is, from the Leach tree.
Right.
I would personally not want to go that way. I want to see more of the Big Ten defense, what we had with Pete Carroll, just more of the physical nature on that side of things rather than a speed, which is what Grinch was trying to do. And I know you sort of always try and do the opposite of what you what you had.
Right.
Grinch was really the speed. We're gonna come at you a million different ways from different spots, confuse the quarterbacks and pressure, and just beat you guys with defensive speed, which didn't work out.
Yeah. Even I was going to say, even when we got there, we couldn't make the plays. There was a culture that just couldn't be established with being physical. You'd see people just kind of dive. They get really quick over, and then they dive at the legs of the runner or the quarterback, or neither. They just dive for no reason. You'd be like, what were you doing? We need to defend here. So 100%, the guy that can avoid when somebody comes to block, we push back and get through the block. 100% on board with that style of defense.
Yeah, and I was, watching the Oregon game, which was, disappointing. They hung tough. That is one thing I will give both offense and defense all through this season, which has been disappointing, is they do continue to fight. I think the entire game, as bad as the defense is and as lost as they are out there, I mean, letting guys just run open and deciding to just stop covering guys and letting them just sit in the end zone for touchdown. As much as they do that, I do see that continual fight and drive that USC has on both sides of the ball. But that Oregon game especially showed, I think, a lack of talent that we have to establish, that we were left bare with Clay Helton. And just like some of the recruiting ranks over the years, I mean, we had 20 and then 63 that was the composite. Yeah, 68, and then another one 70. And the only thing bringing those things up were skill positions, like the wide receivers and whatnot. So getting that fixed, and I think bringing a physical guy in there, I think will only drastically improve the program.
Yeah, we were talking about this before, how much the skill guys carried USC through these rocky times where Clay Helton, bless his heart, great guy, just was not a good fit for a head football coach at USC. And the recruiting really was, except for those positions. But you take away Sam Darnold and Adoree Jackson, the years that they just kind of pulled the whole program back from a lot of serious mistakes, willed their way to victory against Penn State in the Rose Bowl. And then later we were talking about how Keaton Slovis as the quarterback was really helped by NFL caliber receivers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Drake London,
Michael
Pittman. They really, if he doesn't have those, unfortunately right now at BYU, it's not the same story. And we really have a lack of talent that is not to say that the future is not bright. Lincoln Riley, I think, is the right guy, and I feel good about the direction we're going. But we are rebuilding, and USC fans ought to manage expectations accordingly.
And I'm as guilty as anyone with expectations, thinking we were going to win the national championship this year. And I do think, had things played out differently how we thought it was going to, and we thought getting more talent on the defense, which we did, would improve things, and that just wasn't the case.
It wasn't enough.
And so, moving forward, definitely USC has got to get more physical on both lines. Even now on the offensive side of things, I know we're talking about defense, but the offensive line, we've been real bolstered by the few standout guys that remained at USC because of the COVID year, they could extend their time a little bit. You look at just the state of the program, it really was a rebuild completely from almost scratch kind of program.
And that having been said, it certainly was exciting how close we got. I mean, I don't even think Lincoln Riley is that far off when he says we were a few plays away from being, 10-2 or 11-1. Really, in a lot of those games, that's true.
And because we're playing the ugly stepbrother UCLA this week, we can look at them as an example of just how a scheme can improve your entire team. Because UCLA's defense last year was just as awful as ours was last year. And they get a new defensive coordinator. It was another name that people are bringing up. Not that I would pick him. I don't think he's had long enough success to bring him in. But they went from one of the worst to one of the top defenses just in 1 year. So a better scheme should help. USC
and a culture, right?
And a culture. Yeah, USC is not talented right now, but we're still a lot more talented than a lot of other teams that are out there that are doing a lot better than we have this season.
100%.
And so you can make that change.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be, very exciting to see what's going to happen. Obviously, this is a big game. We would like to end this season on a good note, where we keep the victory bell the correct color. And
it's so ugly when it's blue.
It is.
You're red. Yes.
That light blue is atrocious.
Yeah.
It's so ugly.
Yeah.
So, hopefully good things for the men of Troy this Saturday afternoon. All right, let's go to our next topic, which is something that we've been excited about. I could hardly believe my eyes when I came across this post on Twitter. I was just scrolling, and I did not, no expectation of hearing this sort of news. I sort of thought they would never do it. But of course, the opening tweet is all in Japanese. It's written by Shigeru Miyamoto, the guy who created so many Nintendo classics. He created Mario, he created Donkey Kong, and The Legend of Zelda. And so here's
You're going to read it in Japanese, right?
Yeah. Miyamoto desu. Zelda no densetsu. All right, that's all I know. But this is Miyamoto. I have been working on the live-action film of The Legend of Zelda for many years now with Avi Arad-san, who produced many hit films. I have asked Avi-san to produce this film with me, and we have now officially started the development of the film, with Nintendo itself heavily involved in the production. It will take time until its completion, but I hope you look forward to seeing it. Mind blown. I have personally invested a ridiculously large amount of time coming up with ideas that I thought would be great to incorporate into a Legend of Zelda, to the point I wrote a screenplay.
Yeah, I was going to say you can give them your screenplays to use.
I wrote them long enough ago that looking back, there were some good ideas that I was proud of, but dialogue was not my strong suit, and there's some other things that are not strong. But there were some ideas I was proud of, but I'm interested to see the direction that they take. And obviously with Nintendo being involved, we're expecting them to value the production. That's one of the things that they learned very early on with this franchise, when they decided, we'll let Philips take a whack at things. and they produced a trio of games on their DVD-based console or CD-based console, the CDI. There's a reason no one has heard of them. They're garbage. And Nintendo pretty much said, never again. They're just atrocious, terrible things. And so obviously they've been protective of this franchise. And they've taken good care and they've delivered some really memorable moments. So before we get to some of those, what were your thoughts on this? What sorts of things would you like to see?
Okay, number one thing that I want to see in the Legend of Zelda movie is for Link to go through the entire movie just going, yeah, huh, not saying anything, just, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. Although I think that would be pretty funny.
I've heard comments from people. I have a friend who was saying, do you think that they'll make, Link silent? That would be really tough for a live action movie. It's not impossible, but I don't think that really fits with kind of what they're doing.
No, I think if it was animated, you almost could do it, but not live action.
Yeah. Well, even in the cinematic sequences where they display Link doing something, it's, even though there's no voice for him, there's conversation as though he were replying, as though he were explaining something. He responds, yes. Oh, that's what you're talking about. And so, obviously, even though you don't hear it, he talks in the games, too.
Yes, most definitely. No, I'm hoping, I'm open for pretty much wherever. I think Ocarina of Time, sort of that style of setting and whatnot would be my preference, because that's probably my favorite. But as far as any other things, I'm hoping they don't just go with the superstar actors of the day and sort of go more on like a Lord of the Rings route. I mean, like Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn. The general, movie-going people like me, amateurs, didn't know who he was until the movie, and he just nailed that. I think if you can find a few of those guys that aren't known for whatever else, Chris Pratt, as good as much as I like him, in lots of that he does, like, find someone that can become Link. So when you think of Link, you're thinking of that person. Just like when I think of Aragorn, I'm thinking of Viggo Mortensen.
He owns that role. That's like bound to him forever now, 100%. Yes. I like that. I think that there are a lot of different styles from which they can draw. You mentioned Ocarina of Time, which was, I think, incredibly memorable. But one of the key scenes that I thought was very dramatic. This is from Breath of the Wild, but similar style and storytelling in Tears of the Kingdom. You get like these emotional moments where you've got this courageous guy and against huge odds where everything is falling apart. And you have that sense in Breath of the Wild and in the original Legend of Zelda, in a lot of these. Sometimes you'll start out in kind of a happy situation, but it's not very long before the world comes crashing down. And I think that's an important theme. When you start in the original Legend of Zelda, it's just monsters. Everything is overrun, and you just go into a cave. There's an old guy who gives you, it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. You get your sword and try and make the best of it. You're trying to survive. You're fighting back against these insurmountable odds. And I like the way that the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom kind of convey that. The odds are against you. Ocarina of Time, of course, has a similar feel. And I'd like to kind of, we'll probably mute this, even though I was going to say the music is key.
Oh, and I will say that's been one of my critiques of almost my only critique of the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which I know you can't do it because you're out in the wild for so long, but the music, they can do so great if they incorporate a lot of that throughout the entire movie.
And I not only agree with you that they could have done more in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but they should have. Even with going out and exploring, you get a longer piece. Goodness, you had an orchestra that people were paying to go hear people in a live orchestra play the Symphony of the Goddess, where they're playing Zelda music for long periods of time. You bet there's an appetite to listen to that. And they sort of did that in Twilight Princess as you're navigating through the much larger Hyrule field with various regions. But I did not tire of hearing what they did with that sound. And that wasn't even orchestra. Mm-hmm. Well done. And I would like to see that in the film. Even going back to the very original with 8-bit sound, the way when you powered that game on and it had that opening, it took you to a new place. At least it did for me. But yeah, this is the Ocarina of Time example. So here we're escaping. After thinking we've defeated Ganondorf, we're escaping down this tower, and we're going to kind of skip ahead. You go down and you have to dodge all of this stuff. And then finally, we've escaped. The tower collapses. You've made it. And then... oh, it's going to take a moment to finish this. Let's go a little bit further. From under the rubble, in this cruel kind of joke, he's got the Triforce of Power, and he's not done. Even overcoming all of the odds that they did to save all of these other regions of Hyrule, it wasn't enough. And of course, Link steps up to see what it is. Yeah, what was that sound? And cut off there, isolated, he's back. Just incredible. The Triforce of Power in his hand. And then it's revealed that it's more than just some guy that was a Gerudo. This is the demon behind it all. This is Ganon. An epic moment. The fight that went back and forth, where eventually he knocks the Master Sword away, and you've got to just deal with this. Limited help. It was just a very cinematic moment.
Well, and one thing, you've already mentioned this, that this is another thing I sort of want them to do, is to play on those 3 different parts of the Triforce, the wisdom, the power, and the courage, and really emphasize that power that comes on each of those.
Right.
Yeah, I want to see Link doing courageous things. Yeah.
And Zelda being intelligent, kind of, we're at this disadvantage, but here's how we can work around this. Kind of guiding thing. I would like that. 100%. Yes. I thought that this is from Twilight Princess. And this was kind of another thing that Zelda was in a situation where she did not have power. She had no hero of courage. All of the soldiers around her were simpletons. They were no match for Zant, the king that ruled the Twilight. And now she realizes the value of this strange Twilight girl that Link is bringing, and uses her own power, kind of sacrificing a bit of her own life force to heal and save her. And so a selflessness, a good and evil, a virtue over vice, where... and they did this well in Tears of the Kingdom, too, where you had Ganondorf, who had this just insatiable desire to control everything and to use his power, and you had everybody else who was willing to sacrifice in order to protect everyone else.
Yeah.
Absolutely moving moment. One game that I think gets really... It's underrated. Not a lot of people know this story. It's from Skyward Sword. Actually, the story of this game is possibly one of the top. It's phenomenal. The downfall comes with the gameplay, which relied on motion controls, which could be finicky. Some of the stuff that they did was really good, but like when I'm trying to like use my shield and the nunchuck isn't responding, that was super frustrating. Some people are maybe I could just get good, but it wasn't just my experience. A lot of people were frustrated with the controls. The story, though, phenomenal. You have Zelda just who doesn't know her role at this point. She's like kidnapped away, and Impa comes to like save her, and here's her childhood friend that she likes, Link, who's chased after her to help her, and Impa's trying to say, hey, there's bigger stuff at stake than you chatting with your friends. Apparently it involves this commercial from Mattress Firm.
Yeah, you need a good mattress.
Yeah. And the way that they had the villain was this guy named Girahim, super creepy, and we'll get to him in just a moment. But Zelda again realizes, yes, this is what's most important. I've got to do this. I've got to protect everyone. She didn't choose it, but she embraces her fate. And then Impa is a little frustrated with Link. You know, who are you supposed to be? You're supposed to be the one that's protecting her. Yeah, you're not good enough. It took you too long. The goddess was mistaken in choosing you. And so, yeah, do my words anger you, boy? Do they sting? Let them. You're supposed to be better than this. Even though he had no, background in this. He was in the same situation. He's running around an island, has no idea what's going on. He's trying his best. But there's this sense that everything is falling apart if he can't find the courage to make this happen. And so a lot of the game is kind of like, it's a very linear process, but it's proving that he can develop the courage to go to these dark places and get the tools that he needs to do his job that he didn't ask for. So it's really memorable, and you can kind of see him grow. Like, this is the next scene later. You overcome this thing at the temple, and you come face to face with this villain, Girahim. Okay, here we have Zelda and Impa, who are preparing to activate this door of time. Zelda again sees Link, but there's not enough time because... creepy dude. He was... this was a different kind of villain than the Ganondorf that was like this big, strong, straightforward guy. This guy is slimy and creepy. He just gives you the heebie-jeebies. But I think a mixture of various villains, they've done that successfully before. Zant in Twilight Princess was an example of another guy who was just creepy. And then later you had Ganondorf step in, and he has his expected role. But having some agents that are on his side and kind of weaseling their way around, I think that's a good element. I would like to see that kind of situation where people are weaseling their way in and then ultimately succumbing to Ganondorf's power. And then, yeah, Impa has a change of tune and heads back. And then Link steps up and he carries on with the fight. Incredible story. Absolutely love Skyward Sword. I don't know if there are any other titles that you recall that are memorable that you would like to see represented.
I mean, there's lots of memorable ones. One that I love is Link's Awakening. I don't want to see them do that one, though. We can save that one for later, I guess. The Dream World and the Windfish. But, A Link to the Past is definitely... I think you can take elements from several of them, and I don't know, even Changing Worlds that A Link to the Past did, or there's a whole ton you can do. Which brings me to another question I've got for you. Like, would you rather it just be one standalone movie, or is there enough that you would want them to try and make it a 2 or 3 in a row, expanding the story out?
That's a great question, and I would not want them to do multiple movies. I would want it to be a single movie. I like the approach that the games kind of implement, where it's like one of the things that they did that I think was a mistake when they started preparing to release Skyward Sword was to release an official timeline of these are how all of the games fit together, which was ridiculous because they contradict each other so much. They were written by different people. They had different ideas. And I think much better than that is the idea that it's a legend and we're experiencing someone telling their version of the legend, and it should be a standalone adventure. And if they do another movie, it should be totally different. It can be a totally different Link. It can be a different Zelda. That's what they do with the games. I think if they're going to do multiples, that's what they should do with movies.
That would be cool. I guess one other thing I would you can, they've got, this is Ocarina of Time and whatnot with young Link and adult Link. I don't mind if there's a tiny bit with a young Link, like a background, flashback, but the majority of everything needs to be, I think, a full-grown Link.
Agreed.
Wherever you are. Yeah. I don't need to see a 9-year-old boy going around like it is in the first Zelda.
It was kind of interesting how that all came about. Because he really was supposed to be a little kid, and it was supposed to be kind of paying homage to Miyamoto himself when he was a little kid going around in the woods by where he lived and having these adventures. But when they were making the move to Ocarina of Time to make it 3D, they designed kind of this big-looking kid with this long nose that was all rounded. And I forget who it was. It was I don't know if it was his wife, but it was some woman who said, you have all of these little goofy characters. Why don't you have a handsome one? And they decided to make adult Link this more like streamlined. He's got a lean figure, and all the girls have crushes on him, and since then that's kind of been the standard that this is Link. There are other games that try and undo that or go back to little kid versions a little bit,
like Minish Cap or
yeah. And some of those are just supposed to be whimsical, and I don't mind that, but the heavy hitting titles. He's a grown man. He's 40.
Yeah, come after me.
Yeah, he ought to be able to do that. And yeah, I agree. I think time travel has been a big part of Zelda in a variety of things, but it doesn't have to be. And so, yeah, even if they implement time travel, Kid Link is not one I would go for.
Yeah. And again, I don't mind like a slight flashback, sort of like what they did in Ahsoka or whatnot. You want to show a little bit, but yeah, have a more focused where we are.
Yeah, you want to see that character develop and gain courage and gain the tools that they need to be successful, overcome evil. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess last of all, my opinion was not have any known actors. Is there anyone you think would be a good actor, though, to fill some of these roles?
The only thing that I have seen out there is somebody was doing some woke campaigning to say that they wanted a trans dude to play Zelda. And I'm not on board with that. There's a certain level of femininity that Princess Zelda ought to have, and it should be done by an actual woman. And it shouldn't be like one of these body positive sort of things where they should be slender. They should be like attractive individuals that are fit to be the warrior of Hyrule and the princess of wisdom, not like a slob. They should be regal. As far as individual actors, that's tough. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know specifically. It'll be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah. And again, who knows when we'll even get any much more information on this, but it is exciting.
That was incredibly mind-blowing. Loved to see that. Yeah, fantastic. Okay. The other thing that we would like to discuss...
Speaking of slobs and gluttony.
Yeah, with Thanksgiving, our favorite American holiday, just a week away, we are interested in talking about what kind of food is really good for Thanksgiving, and what would we like to maybe skip from putting on our plates this Thanksgiving. So obviously turkey is the most traditional meal that we have for Thanksgiving. Do you have any thoughts on kinds of turkey, what makes a turkey good, what to do?
So for me, I like my turkeys that I make, but it's got to be juicy. So one thing I've never done that I want to is the deep fried turkey that apparently is amazing. I've never had that one. I want to, but I use the oven bags and just cook it all in, and I don't remove the turkey ever from any of the juices that come out. So it's just, even when I'm serving it, I don't put it on a platter like that. It's in the pan, just soaking in its own juices. And that, for me, that's how a turkey should be.
My wife does it the same way, and I have zero complaints. It's so good that way. Because everybody has had like the experience, and I have people that I've seen on social media that complain, I don't know why people like turkey. It's always so dry. Well, that if you're having just the dry meat that you've set out and you're not having it absorb its juice, and then yeah, that's not going to be an enjoyable meal. That's just pasty in your mouth. That's not good.
Yeah. And I will say, like, I all for the people that have the little squeezy thing, that squirt the juices back. Yeah, the basters. When you had to do that, you no longer have to do that with the oven bags. They're all just in there anyways. Oh, and then I put like 4 pounds of butter on it as well. So that always makes it good too.
It complements it well. Yeah, no doubt. That's
and for me, like, I know some people, because like you say, turkey could be dry. Some people want to go with the ham. I save the ham for another holiday, in my opinion. It's got to be turkey.
I love having ham at Christmas. For me, that's sort of my memories. We did Thanksgiving with the turkey and ham at Christmas, and I still associate that. And
yep.
I'm very glad that my wife indulges me with those things, and she does great with both. So good. They're both great. But yeah, Thanksgiving turkey it's good. It's very good.
Yeah, Again, this is not me saying ham is bad. Ham is delicious. Yeah, I like you said, I want that on Christmas. I want turkey on Thanksgiving.
The right way to do it. Okay, stuffing. Do you put the stuffing in with the turkey, or you do it separate?
I do it separate. Again, because it's in the bag and whatnot, I mean, it would be just a complete wet mush in with the turkey because of all the juices making it in there. So I do it separate, but I do use turkey juices when I do make it, though. So, like, I'll take the turkey juices after it comes out and make it up. I don't do it from scratch or anything. Right. Although there is one person that we've had Thanksgiving with recently, they add sausage into their stuffing, and it's very good.
Yeah, that sounds intriguing.
It's a good element in a stuffing. I actually haven't ever made it yet, but I enjoy it when we've had that.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I think that's a great idea. As opposed to our next awful contribution, it always like, and we had this growing up, and I'd always like look at it and see like roasted marshmallows. That looks so good, and then I get some on my plate, and the stuff under the marshmallows tasted like flavorless, thick paste. It was so gross. It was
the goo and disgusting. And then it's infected the marshmallows. So you can't even eat the marshmallows and enjoy them.
Yeah. You can't even peel it off and wipe the yams off. Candied yams are a terrible idea. Yams are just not worth eating. I guess you could say if you have them, you'll never go hungry, because you could never be hungry enough to eat them. They're so gross. Just awful. This is a no-go for Thanksgiving. No.
Agree 100%.
Cranberry sauce. This is a kind of a bizarre thing. Some people actually prefer the can as opposed to these cranberries. So there's multiple types. What's your take?
So I had only ever had cans up until last year. One of my coworkers, exes, has like a cranberry farm or something, and so he brought bags of cranberries in that he got from her, I guess. And so we had that, and I'm good with either. It's not something that I'm like, I've got to have cranberry sauce either way, but I do enjoy it. It's not a hit or miss, but yeah.
It was always like frequently a part of Thanksgiving dinner to have it available, and it always kind of looked like it would be appealing. Ooh, there's a cool something that's supposed to have berries. and I take a bite, and the tart I don't mind, but it has this kind of bitter aftertaste that I find absolutely repulsive. Like, even like any of those those ocean spray drinks that are cran anything, and they tell me, oh yeah, it's antioxidants, it's healthy for you. I'd rather die. I'd just rather die early. Get that crap off of my table. I don't want that.
See, again, I'm okay with it, and I'll have some each time. I normally have some maybe on my first plate, and then like on my fourth and fifth plates that I'm going through. I'm just getting the turkey and the others. I don't have time to put the jam and eat.
Prioritizing the good stuff.
Yeah.
This is one that we didn't have a lot growing up necessarily on Thanksgiving, but my wife does this every year, and it is one of my favorite things. I guess maybe you have to like the stuff that gets mixed with it. Deviled eggs are so good. This is one of my favorite things I look forward to. And I think it complements the turkey and some of the other textures and flavors very well. Love it.
Yeah, I've never had this with a Thanksgiving meal, and I love eggs. Eggs are amazing, and in fact, I would probably eat eggs with Thanksgiving meal because I like eggs so much. But when you're putting like mayo into a mixture, it's just you're putting garbage into it. It makes me want to throw up. Deviled eggs are so gross. Anything mayo touches, not good. Not good. So if you just leave, just hard-boiled eggs would be better.
Mashed potatoes are a very common thing. Is there a secret that you have to make potatoes better at Thanksgiving?
So when I always do, I use the golden potatoes as opposed to russet or anything like that. And I don't peel the skin off or anything. I have the skin on. And instead of whipping it, that looks more like whipped. I have chunkier ones. I hand press them with the masher, and it's just adding a lot of butter. A lot of butter. I like adding garlic to them as well. Unfortunately, my wife she found out she's a little bit allergic to garlic, so I don't do that anymore.
Ooh.
But basically a lot of butter, and then I like it not completely smooth, but with a little bit of chunk in it.
Yeah, one of the things, going back to like the eggs, one of the things that my wife invented out of like when kids are helping to peel the boiled eggs, and it's a just mangled disaster, that you could still take those ugly eggs that would not be good presentation wise, and you cut those up and you put those in the potato and you mix that in, and it's sort of like a deviled egg potato salad. You don't necessarily need the mayo, but the bits of egg in there with the mashed potatoes, this is, we've discovered, absolutely brilliant. We love it. It's incredible. And of course a lot of butter and garlic is great too.
After a Thanksgiving meal, your arteries should be basically clogged. You should barely be alive after eating a Thanksgiving meal.
To the pain. Eat to the pain. Okay. We'll go to this one. So this was a tradition that, I don't think it's just our family. I think a lot of people have these pitted olives, and kids just love to put those on their fingertips and, ooh, I'm a frog. And then they, eat them off. And I I like olives, black olives. Green olives are okay. Black olives I really enjoy. I put those with a lot of things. But some people just the putting them on their fingers and then probably pulling them off and throwing them in the trash is all they can do.
That would be something, or throw them at other people at the table. That's another thing. Start a Three Stooges food fight. That's much better than eating them.
I like olives, but yeah, that's okay. The other thing that I don't have pictures of that I sort of wish I did is our mom made the most delicious rolls. And she would wake up early and get the dough and buttered those things up and baked those, and they were just incredible. And then after the meal, like, days later, you still use those rolls, break them open, put a little turkey inside, and have a little sandwich. A good roll is just wonderful.
Yeah, and it should be homemade because those are the best. Yeah. Yeah, definitely have to have the rolls. Basically you have to have so much food out here that you cannot fit it on your plate, no matter how big your plate is.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the last element, the Thanksgiving pies. Do you do pies for Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Tessa, my wife, she loves to make pies, and she's very good at it. So we do have pies.
So is it just pumpkin, or do you have other types as well?
No, we do other types. So the pumpkin pies, we normally just get one from the Costco on the pumpkin ones. They're big. They're only like $5. And all you're doing for I guess you can cook up the pumpkin and whatnot, but that's a lot of effort that doesn't taste much different from the store-bought. But no, we'll do the apple pies or she'll make chocolate pies. She'll make a lemon and blueberry pie. So lots of different kinds of pies. It's a must.
It really is. It's just a phenomenal. After you've eaten to the pain, you need a little time off so that you can go and maybe watch, a little bit of football, and then you eventually come back and you have more pie.
I also love having the ice cream with the pie.
Oh, 100%. Little scoop of vanilla on that, that's just wonderful. That just finishes it right. 100% agree.
We've got the pecan pie there. We haven't made a pecan pie. I like pecan pie, but is that one that you would go for? Or?
Not at all. That tastes like... nuts are okay. I like nuts, but maybe not pecans. They just have a weird flavor.
Oh, see, I like pecans.
You enjoy
it, but I'd be okay with it.
And there's no doubt it's a popular variety. It's a staple for a lot of people. When I spent some time in Arkansas, there were a lot of people that made pecan pies, and I'd still have a slice, but they enjoyed it more than I did, which is okay.
Yeah, the most important thing with all of this is, you've got to be having 8 plates full at least of food. It needs to be painful to sit and lay.
You gotta unsnap the jeans a little bit and let yourself breathe.
Every Thanksgiving, I do think that the Romans had a good idea with the vomitorium, because I eat so much and I'm in so much pain, and then go back for pies.
It's in spite of all that, like it is good. No doubt, the food is a highlight, just wonderful. But like, it's an underrated holiday. Thanksgiving is absolutely a wonderful thing, and particularly in a culture that isn't as grateful as we probably should be. That's that's one of the things that several people have pointed out. It's not really possible to feel like you're a victim if you're focusing on gratitude. It's a lot harder to be upset about what you're missing out on when you're focused on what you're thankful for.
No, and especially when that focus on what you're grateful to is going to the ultimate source of who is giving you that in God. And yeah, that is one of the reasons why Thanksgiving is my absolute favorite holiday. Faith, family, and football.
Got it all. Yeah, that's... Yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on, like, is there a time then, do you say Christmas only after Thanksgiving, or do you start decorating for Christmas before?
After. I don't mind if you do it like after your Thanksgiving meal and whatnot. If you want to get started on Thanksgiving itself, whatever, but not before. I am a firm no Christmas music unless you're like preparing something for a Christmas presentation or whatnot and you're practicing. But no Christmas music, no decoration or anything until after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we kind of followed that same pattern. It's important to set aside the time, and like I get it, you're maybe looking ahead a little bit, and if you can find a good deal on something you're going to get as a gift, it's okay. You're going to need some lights, and somebody's got something in September, you can get that. They aren't going to go bad. But
shopping is okay. Decorating and that sort of stuff, wait till after Thanksgiving.
And then yeah, but then the whole month of December, I agree, focus on Christmas. But it's nice to have the Thanksgiving season and observe those traditions.
Well, going back to faith, just the whole history. I mean, my kids don't always like it, but I like reading Thanksgiving proclamations, like the one Washington gave or Lincoln or whatnot, and focusing on, well, why are they so thankful? Why is this? And it ultimately comes back to God.
Yeah.
Which is, all the way from the Pilgrims on up.
Well, yeah, when we think about it, we do enter this life with nothing, and when we leave, we will have nothing. But we really do have a wonderful life here. There's a lot if a person stops and thinks that they really have been blessed. Certainly I have. Certainly it's worth remembering. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, very good. Any other Thanksgiving thoughts to wrap up?
I love playing football too.
It's always like, I think it was the day after I got engaged, I went to play in a turkey bowl and sprained my ankle really bad. So I haven't been playing so much since then, but certainly watching. I enjoy watching.
Yeah.
But, well, good. Thank you everyone for joining. I think we're at time, so we'll leave you this evening. Of course, we invite you to rewatch. If you missed anything, leave a comment or contact us on social media if you have any ideas for upcoming programs. We appreciate you joining us for another episode of the Jensen program. Have a great night.